Here's some information from the Rheims New Testament from the Douay Rheims Wikipedia page. The Rheims New Testament was published in Rheims, France in 1582 in one volume with extensive commentary and notes. The New Testament was reprinted in 1600, 1621, 1633. In 1589, William Fulk collated the complete Rheims text and notes in parallel columns with those of the Bishop's Bible. This work sold widely in England, being reissued in 3 further editions to 1633. It was predominantly through Fulk's editions that the Rheims New Testament came to exercise a significant influence on the development of 17th century English. The translation was replaced by a revision undertaken by Bishop Richard Challoner. The New Testament in 3 editions in 1749, 1750, and 1752. Subsequent editions of the Challoner revision, of which there have been very many, reproduced his Old Testament of 1750 with very few changes. Challoner's New Testament was, however, extensively revised by Bernard McMahon in a series of Dublin editions from 1783 to 1810. These Dublin versions are the source of some Challoner Bibles printed in the United States in the 19th century. Subsequent editions of the Challoner Bible, printed in England, most often followed Challoner's early New Testament texts of 1749 and 1750, as do most 20th century printings and online versions of the Douay Rheims Bible circulating on the internet. As a recent translation, the Rheims New Testament had an influence on the translators of the King James Version. Afterwards, it ceased to be of interest to the Anglican Church. Although the cities are now commonly spelled D-O-U-A-I and as R-E-I-M-S, the Bible continues to be published as the D-O-U-A-Y R-H-E-I-M-S Bible, and has formed the basis of some later Catholic Bibles in English. The title page runs, quote, "The Holy Bible faithfully translated into English out of the authentic Latin, diligently conferred with the Hebrew, Greek, and other editions. The cause of the delay was, quote, our poor state of banishment. But there was also the matter of reconciling the Latin with the other editions. In their decision consistently to apply Latinate language rather than everyday English to render religious terminology, the Rheims Douay translators continued a tradition established by Thomas More and Stephen Gardiner in their criticisms of the biblical translations of William Tyndale. Gardiner, indeed, had himself applied these principles in 1535 to produce a heavily revised version, which had not survived, of Tyndale's translations of the Gospels of Luke and John. Moore and Gardiner had argued that Latin terms were more precise in meaning than their English equivalents, and consequently should be retained in Englished form to avoid ambiguity. The original Douay Rheims Bible was published during a time when Catholics were being persecuted in Britain and Ireland, and possession of the Douay Rheims Bible was a crime. By the time possession was not a crime, the English of the Douay Rheims Bible was 100 years out of date. It was thus substantially revised between 1749 and 1770 by Richard Challoner, the Vicar Apostolic of London. Bishop Challoner was assisted by Father Francis Blythe, a Carmelite friar.